Ryuji, Tega, Minori, Ami, and Kitamura return from summer break and they find their peers excited for the upcoming student festival. Meanwhile, their teacher tells them to treasure school festivals while they are young before they become single 30-year-old public school teachers. Kitamura and Sumire meet with the rest of the student council to plan the festival, and Sumire is determined to make it the best one because she will graduating soon. Ryuji observes that in gym class the boys all fawn over Ami and Tega, who are still bitter rivals with each other. The class idiot Koji notices this and asks the guys to work together and vote on a maid cafe for the class. However, although Ryuji is also excited, he is worried about Tega's reaction. The boys finally compromise on a cosplay cafe suggested by Kitamura and put their plan into motion. Tega later goes to Ryuji to fix her gym clothes, which were broken by Ami while they were fighting in gym class, and although Ryuji tries to ask Minori about their moment together on the beach, she brushes him off. After school, Tega and Ryuji meet to fix her gym clothes, but she gets a phone call from her father which Tega promptly ignores. Tega feels her father has abandoned her and refuses to pick up the phone for him. At school the next day, the class needs to decide on a candidate for the school beauty pageant. The guys try to elect Ami to represent their class, but she is able to force the responsibility onto Tega, who quickly protests, but agrees when Kitamura asks her. The guys in the class enact their plan to have the class do a cosplay cafe, and the class starts to argue. Then Ori struggles to suggest a haunted house for the class, but is unable to form an effective argument, and the class uses a hidden randomized vote. In the end, a play wrestling competition was decided, which was a suggestion from their teacher. After school, Tega's father continues to call her, but she keeps ignoring his calls every day. Since she refuses to see him, Ryuji meets with him instead, and Tega's father Rikuru buys him some food. He gives him money to give to Tega and questions Ryuji on his relationship with her. Ryuji finds out that Rikuru had divorced Tega's mother and remarried, forcing the family to splinter, and Tega had to live on her own. But since he feels regretful, Rikuru would like to live as a family again with Tega. Ryuji tells Tega that her father wants to live with her again, but Tega tells him to stay out of her family business and to leave her alone. The class meets the next day to go over the script for the wrestling play, and Ami quickly becomes the leader of the play due to her popularity, while Tega is made to play the antagonist. Tega becomes annoyed that Ami keeps forcing her to play weird roles, and they start fighting in class, which is misunderstood by the rest of the class as interest in the play. Kitamura then announces that to make the festival a hit, the student council is offering prizes to classes that have the best events, including coupons to the supermarket, which makes Ryuji very interested. When they walk home later that night, Rikuru confronts them, but Tega kicks him and runs away. Ryuji argues with Tega, calling her childish, and that she should try to hear her father out instead of acting violently. But when they argue, Ryuji realizes that he was projecting his insecurity about his absent father onto her, and in understanding, Tega reluctantly goes to meet her father. It is soon time for the school festival, and Koji the idiot leads the class in exercises to prepare, while Kitamura works hard on the student council. Ryuji and Tega walk to school one day, and they talk about Tega's father trying to make amends by taking Tega out for dinner and spending time with her, and Ryuji is happy that her father is making an effort. The next day, Tega enlists Ryuji's help with a plan of hers. She buys famous macaroons and gives one to Ami, asking if she can switch to the lead role in the play so that her father can be impressed with her when he watches the play. Though when Minori hears that Tega's father is coming, she becomes upset and starts calling Rikuru a horrible person. Ryuji angrily leaves the classroom and Ami goes to speak with him. He feels bad for ruining the festival atmosphere, and Ami tells him she'll try to repair the issues. Later that night, Ryuji hears from his mother that Tega will be moving, and will no longer be their neighbor, and she was able to speak to Rikuru, who is moving Tega out of the apartment. Ryuji becomes conflicted about Tega moving, and when he speaks to her, she tells him to apologize and make up with Minori. The next day is the school festival, and Tega scolds Ryuji for overdoing it on the makeup. They start fighting in the changing room until Kitamura arrives, announcing the start of the play. The wrestling show becomes an instant hit on campus, and soon many students arrive to see the play. Tega and Ryuji play the roles of the villains on stage, but during the play their teacher loses it and tries to interrupt the play, only to be carried off by the class. Minori plays the role of a wise mentor, and the play climaxes with a fight between Tega and Ami, and the crowd loves the performance. The class takes a break before their next iteration of the play and see that a lot of classes ended up making cosplay cafes. Tega also becomes embarrassed spending time with Kitamura and Ryuji, but Tega becomes worried when her father seems to be absent from the festival, and when he doesn't show, Tega never got to play the lead in the play. The class moves on to the pageant, and while Ami helps Tega get ready, Ryuji notices that neither Tega's father nor Minori came to visit Tega during the festival. Ryuji arrives to give a dress he made to Tega for the pageant, and the girls are shocked at his skills, but Tega keeps checking his phone in case her father shows up. Riji starts to lose faith in Tega's father and questions how he can make his daughter so disappointed in him. Soon the pageant starts and Ami plays the role of the Mick but starts to steal the spotlight from the contestants. While in the crowd, Riji gets a text from Tega's father asking if he could tell Tega that he can't come to the festival because he is too busy, and Riji feels terrible for bringing Tega's hopes up and projecting his insecurity about his own father on her. Meanwhile on stage, Ami announces Tega's entrance, and the crowd is shocked to see Tega in an angelic dress that's very different from her fierce personality. Ami tries to see if Tega's father is in the crowd, but they realize that he never showed up, and an angry and embarrassed Tega rips her dress up. Riji and Minori start an applause which makes the crowd start cheering, and Tega takes the mic saying that she beat up her father and the crowd should shut up. She later uses the talent portion of the pageant to hide herself in a bag, and the crowd cheers for her performance. In the end, she wins the pageant for her unique presentation. Since she is alone, Riji tries to run onto stage to comfort her. But Ami suddenly announces a competition for all the boys at the school, an athletics competition where the reward is a date with the winner of the pageant, and all of the council president's notes for future tests. Riji becomes determined to win so he can try to cheer Tega up, but some of the other boys sabotage him during the run. Angry at their betrayal, Riji starts to beat up the other boys as he runs, and then is able to use them as stepping stones to get past a barrier. Riji takes the lead in the race, but Minori appears and starts to pass him, and Riji realizes that she was a much better friend to Tega than he was. Minori then sabotages two other runners by attacking them with her baseball, and Riji and Minori win the race together. Together the friends crown Tega the winner of the pageant, and the class celebrates the ending of the festival with a large bonfire. Meanwhile, Sumire congratulates Kitamura on hosting the festival successfully, and that soon he will be the new student council president when she graduates. Tega, Minori, and Riji reconcile with one another, and when Tega leaves to go fight Ami, Minori tells Riji that Tega's father did the same thing a year ago, pretending to come back into her life, and then abandoning Tega again. Tega gets a moment alone with Kitamura where they hold hands at the bonfire, and the rest of the class encourage all of them to dance together to end the festival. The next day, Tega and Riji discover that the class have become incredibly happy and grateful with Tega for winning so many competitions for their class, and for her role in making the wrestling show so popular with her violent moves. Koji reveals that due to their success, the class has become very popular and Tega's nickname is now the Pontop Tiger of Happiness. Riji is happy that the class is more accepting of Tega now, but he still feels bad that her school festival experience was not that happy. They also hear that rumors are spreading about Tega and Kitamura due to their dance at the festival. But at lunch that day, Tega becomes self-conscious due to all the attention she is getting from her classmates, and Kitamura arrives to comfort them about the rumors and let them know that things will return to normal soon. He also compliments Tega for working hard during the festival, and in her embarrassment, Tega almost chokes on her food. Later, Riji sees Ami on the phone when he tries to buy a drink for Tega, and annoyed Ami makes him buy a different drink instead. Tega becomes annoyed that Riji bought the wrong drink when they are confronted by a shy student who wants Tega's help in confessing to a girl she likes. Tired of her classmates' shenanigans, she threatens him and he runs away. She then forces them to look at pictures from the school festival, and they see an excited Minori looking to buy many photos taken from the festival. Minori then asks Riji what pictures he'd like to keep from the festival, and she gets embarrassed to see that he wanted to buy the picture with the both of them winning the race. Ami later tells Minori that she isn't interested in buying pictures because as a model she gets her picture taken all the time. Ami later sees their teacher who is upset that she's still single, and comforts the older woman who compliments Ami on her maturity. Tega and Riji later decide to go eat food together, and the two start arguing about the pictures they bought, and Tega is happy she spent time with Kitamura, while students still try to be close to Tega for good luck. Meanwhile, Kitamura and Sumire watch from the student council room, and she tells him that she has something important to say. After school, Ami is feeling melancholy with her friends and gets encouragement from them, and she meets Riji going shopping at the supermarket. Ami tells him he should hang around Tega for good luck and getting good deals, but Riji wonders if anybody is looking out for Tega's happiness. They later walk home after shopping, and Riji gives Ami some of his groceries, as he noticed that she was looking sad that day. Meanwhile, Tega sees Kitamura sadly sitting next to the river, and Tega asks him to get good luck and happiness from her to cheer him up, but he declines. And Tega realizes that something happened between him and Sumire. Later that night at dinner, Riji and his mom can tell that something is bothering Tega and try to cheer her up and make her feel part of their family. The next day, the class notices that Kitamura seems to be in a bad mood and is unusually grumpy. Their teacher announces the student council elections, and everyone expects that Kitamura will be the new student council president after serving as the vice president for so long. But when the class excitedly nominates him, Kitamura refuses to run and announces angrily that he is quitting the student council. Riji and Tega wonder what happened to Kitamura, but Tega is pretty sure something happened between him and Sumire. They then see that Kitamura has gotten into a fight and has dyed his hair blonde. The teachers gather his closest friends to find out what has happened, but Ami notices that Sumire is acting unusually cold and harsh towards Kitamura. Then Ori arrives with Koji, who reveals he was the one who bleached Kitamura's hair after he was asked, and the class worry about their representative and debate on what to do. They later watch as Kitamura flees school, and Ryuji overhears Ami claiming that Kitamura is just acting for attention. Then Ori gathers Tega and Ryuji to see if they can visit Kitamura after school, but Tega actually wants Kitamura to quit the student council so that he can be far away from Sumire. On the way to Kitamura's house, Ryuji asks Minori if she thinks Ami was too harsh on their friend, and she thinks that the blue-haired girl probably has her reasons and she does secretly care about Kitamura. But they later find that Kitamura is missing from his house, and Ryuji finds him at his own house. Kitamura admits that he ran away from home and asks them to take care of him, and Tega is apprehensive to be close to Kitamura after school. For tonight's dinner, Tega volunteers to help cook to try to impress Kitamura, but she accidentally messes up the dinner. Kitamura still eats her food because he knows that she's trying to cheer him up. Kitamura later tells them that he really doesn't want to be the student council president, and Tega proclaims that she will support whatever he decides to do next. They then play video games late into the night until Kitamura falls asleep, so Tega and Ryuji walk to get some ice cream. But Tega seems to get doubts as she realizes although Kitamura is now separated from the council, he is likely feeling miserable inside, and she can't help him. She is determined to find out what exactly is troubling their friend, and Ryuji will help her. The next morning, Tega is embarrassed that they were all staying over, but their noise wakes up an angry Yasuko who pays them money to leave the apartment. Since they have free time, Kitamura suggests they go play baseball, but the friends watch as Kitamura takes out his frustration on hundreds of pitches. Tega tries to cheer him up by learning to play baseball, and Kitamura is shocked that Tega is easily a natural. When they return home, Yasuko asks Ryuji and Tega to hold Kitamura while she fixes his hair, but Kitamura escapes and runs away. Tega and Ryuji later talk, and Tega is certain that Kitamura still secretly wants to be student council president, and they need to do something to motivate him. And the next day, Tega announces her candidacy for student council president to the shock of their class. And this is all for this video. Make sure to subscribe if you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one.